Hello, everyone. So, everybody is talking about one thing, and that is that Trump's house at the Mar-a-Lago resort was raided by FBI agents who were searching for classified documents that Trump supposedly took with him after he left office. And everybody's talking about this. You have the right wingers on YouTube screaming, "This is war!" and "This is a coup," which I'm not sure how this is a coup because Trump is no longer in office. So how is this a coup? Well, it's a coup. I heard one guy on Fox News say something like, "Oh, it's a coup before a coup. It's a pre-coup because they know that Trump's going to run again, so they want to stop him. They want to put him in prison so that he can't become president ever again," and all this stuff. And this is really a story that is generating tremendous amounts of views for both sides. Left-wing media and right-wing media are both greatly benefiting from this story because it's a huge buzz. It's a story that uh, you know that's extremely magnetizing. It's generating tremendous amounts of hits and clicks, and it's garnering a huge audience. Everybody in America, well, everybody that's focused on politics in America, is looking at this story and observing to see what new installments pop up on the headlines. And now they're saying, and I saw this article just now on Yahoo News. Supposedly, the FBI reportedly sought nuclear documents, and perhaps Trump was going to sell these documents as memorabilia, to make money or whatever. Some sources say this. He was going to sell the documents for some money, because he could sell them as historical relics that belong to the Trump administration, whatever. All these stories are popping up, but really, we don't know what these documents contained. We don't know. They're not telling us a damn thing. So why are we jumping up and down over this? Why are we just going crazy over this story? We don't know. And when it was so annoying when the raid story first popped up, everybody was talking about it, right? All the lefties were talking about it, the righties were talking about it. This is a coup. This is like an African style coup. We're in Uganda. We're no longer in America. And the left wing people were saying, "Oh, look, Trump's gonna be in prison." And Twitter. I want to say Twitter is the most cancerous place on all of the out of all the social media platforms. At the same time, I want to say Instagram, because Instagram is such a mind drain and such mind rot. But Twitter, I would say ideologically, it's the most cancerous place, because it's if you want to exaggerate, or not exaggerate, if you want to accentuate or exasperate whatever anxiety you have in regards to the fate of the world and the future of America, go to Twitter. You go to Twitter and it's like, Trump's going to be in prison. He's going to go to jail. Yada, 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 yada. I remember when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, going onto Twitter, and I remember seeing these crazy, crazy posts like, they're gonna track every single woman in America. They're gonna have a system where they're gonna know exactly when was the last time you PMS'd, so that they can know that if you're getting pregnant or not. They want everybody to be pregnant. All the women, they want all of them to be pregnant. And if you had your period and you're not pregnant, they're gonna hunt you down. Okay, they're gonna hunt women down. Like that's literally the kind of. I'm not even making this up. This is what they were saying. People were on Twitter. People on Twitter were saying this stuff. It's so crazy, guys. It's crazy. Stay out of Twitter. I mean, really, it's a crazy place. But we really don't know. We really don't know what's gonna happen from this. And even if Donald Trump gets thrown in prison, which I'm going to say I don't think is going to happen, right? I don't think this is going to happen. Even if he was thrown behind bars and was made to wear an orange jumpsuit, he could still run for office. He could still run for the presidency. I read about this last night. There was an article on Yahoo News about how technically he could run because according to the rules, according to the Constitution, all one has to be to run for office in America is you got to be at least 35 years old. You got to be a resident in this country for at least, I want to say, 14 years. And you have to be a naturally born citizen, which means you have to have been born in America to run for office. That's all the requirements are. That's the protocol. Doesn't say anything about not being in prison, and it doesn't say anything about not having a criminal record. So even if let's say if Trump gets thrown in prison, do you know how crazy that'll be? The country is polarized enough, right? Roe v. Wade and immigration and gay marriage, and whether more and more people are accepting Sodom anyway, so that's kind of getting out of the picture. But the love for Donald Trump is what's polarizing America, probably more than anything else. And imagine if Trump gets thrown into prison. Do you know what that would mean ideologically, spiritually, politically for this country? And when I say spiritually, what I mean by that is you will have literally millions upon millions of people in this country saying that he is a martyr for God, saying that he is a man of God. He was chosen by Jesus Christ to save this country, and the sons of darkness have put this man in prison, and there would be all sorts of spiritual rhetoric about this, religious rhetoric about this. People would be saying that they saw Trump in a vision and that he was thrown into prison like St. Paul was, and that he's going to rise above and save America from communism and Islam and whatever. It would increase, it would bolster up his martyrdom status from here all the way up to the heavens like the Tower of Babel. It would be insane. People would be completely unhinged. And to put this guy in prison would be more dangerous than anything else, because then people would really believe that he's a martyr, and they would go absolutely unhinged. And you would see violence over this. Political violence. You would see it if Trump ever gets thrown into prison. And he would run, I would imagine him running for the presidency from prison, and people will vote for him. There were a number of people, there were a couple of people who ran for office while in prison, and none of them won, but it did happen. There were two examples. There was some guy, I think his name was LaRouche or something like that, and there was some socialist that ran from prison, and he got like 3% of the vote, not for the presidency. I think it was for some regional election in America. I don't remember. But anyway, it can happen. So, Trump's going to be thrown in prison. Well, yeah, even if that were to happen, he can still run. And that would be pretty dangerous because he would be running with the perception in the minds of his constituents that he is a martyr. And that would actually increase his status. And then you have the conservatives who are like, this is the coup. Well, it's not really a coup because he's not in office. It's a coup before the coup. Well, even if he's thrown in prison, he can still run. And also, here's another crazy thing. This whole thing with the documents. It reminds me of the Republicans when they were screaming about emails. Remember the email? Remember that nonsense about emails and all this crap? Guys, the emails for Hillary Clinton came out, and it basically showed us that Hillary Clinton is not as calculative as people thought she was. She couldn't even run a fax machine, guys. She couldn't even run a fax machine. Okay. Another thing, there were past presidents that did much worse, right? I mean, okay, the documents might... You know what? I could be completely wrong about this. The documents could be absolutely detrimental. They could be such classified documents that For Trump to have these documents in his possession could be extremely dangerous. It could lead to the next world war. It could be classified documents that he wanted to sell to the Russians that could lead to, and if the Russians ever got their hands on these documents, it could literally lead to World War III, right? Let's say that this is entirely possible, right? I will concede to this, not consent. I will concede to this, right? This is entirely possible. But you know what? Anything is possible, right? It's possible that by tomorrow, Putin will become the president of America, right? I mean, whatever, anything is possible. But does it make it likely, right? Just because something is possible doesn't mean that it's likely. And goodness, if these documents, and this is a question that I have, right? And it might be answered. This question might be legitimately answered in the future. But if these documents were really that crucial and important, then why did they wait 2 years to do this raid? I mean, ask yourself, it's a good question. It's a good question, guys. How come they waited 2 years? How come they waited 2 years? I mean, if these documents were so vital and so important, and Trump having these documents in his Mar-a-Lago safe somewhere, if that was so dangerous, then why didn't they do the raid earlier? I mean, he took these documents upon leaving office. They've been with him for 2 years. How come this raid waited so long? It looks like this is some kind of political stunt. I don't know. That's what it appears to me to be. I could be completely wrong about this, guys. Another thing, Ronald Reagan did far worse, right? Ronald Reagan, well, it's possible that this is worse than Reagan. We'll see, right? But I doubt it. But Ronald Reagan did something that was pretty horrendous. There were Americans that were hostages to Iranian terrorists in Tehran, the capital of Iran. And Ronald Reagan at the time was running for president against Jimmy Carter. And Ronald Reagan's people went to the Iranians, the Iranian hostage takers, the terrorists, and told them to keep those Americans hostages, keep them as hostages, until Ronald Reagan wins the election. So they knew that Reagan was going to win the election, and they wanted to make sure that those hostages would be released right after he won. And the reason for this was because they knew that if those hostages were released when Carter was president, during Carter's presidency, then the American people might look up to Carter and say, wow, he's a good president. He negotiated for those Americans' freedom. Wow, amazing. He negotiated really well against those Iranian thugs. And they did not want that image to be held up for Carter. They wanted that image to be held up for Ronald Reagan. And so they knew that if the hostages were released after Reagan wins the presidency, then that would give off the perception that Ronald Reagan is so tough that the Iranians were so terrified of him that they released the hostages. So they wanted to bolster up the image of Ronald Reagan to the American people. And we know about the people involved, right? We know who was involved in this. We know that Bill Casey, the head of the CIA, was involved. We know that George Bush Sr. was involved in this. A bunch of other people were involved in this. Iranian arms dealers. There was an Israeli arms dealer that was involved. And the reason for this was because they gave the Iranians a deal. They said, keep these hostages until Ronald Reagan wins. And as a reward for your cooperation, we will sell weapons to you. And that's why there was an Israeli arms dealer, and there were two Iranian arms dealers that were involved in this conspiracy. And it worked. And it worked. And, you know, at the time, this was considered to be a conspiracy theory. But if you actually look at the information that we have now, it's really no longer a conspiracy theory. You can't even consider this to be a conspiracy theory. But that was pretty horrendous, right? To exploit American hostages so that you can better your publicity, so you can better your image as a politician, that's pretty horrendous. But did anything happen to Reagan? Did anything happen to Bill Casey? Did anything happen to anybody involved in this? No, nothing happened to them. So that's my prediction for Trump. I don't think anything is going to happen to him. I could be completely wrong. He could be thrown into prison. He could be thrown behind bars with an orange jumpsuit. But even if he is, he could still run for president, and he would still get millions and millions of votes. So anyway, those are my thoughts on this. You guys just heard some theology. God bless.